In what world would you hold hands with a stranger?
Yeah,
we
yeah.
do a thing called conscious connections where we will just sit next to a stranger, look into their eyes, and just see them as a human being.
And just connect.
And that is actually a very profound thing for me, because often I will cry when I'm looking at somebody, because
Wow.
at that point it's not about me and my ego and what I want in life. It's I'm looking at that human being right there, and I'm seeing another human being just like me.
Yeah.
And you start to reflect all the things that I'm just like anybody else, as much as I think I know more than the average person.
It's just so good for you to actually just slow down. People are moving so fast, and they're not actually having time to think. And then when they have a bit of free time, they're just distracting themselves with stimulants like the TV or our phone. There's always people to go and, there's people to go and talk to, there's people to go and help. And that's what we're here for, ultimately, is to help people, is to serve. And when you help people and serve, it makes you feel better.
We've got so much time at home or on the train that we fill that time with being on our phone. Last night, it was like 11:30, and I went into the kitchen and it was quite messy. First thing I thought was, fuck's sake, we need a system, right? People need to have a system where you do that and we do this. And then the other part of me thought, no, fucking do it yourself.
Yeah.
That is community. It's whatever needs doing,
Get it done.
do it. And
Yeah.
so I looked around like, fuck's sake, and then I spent like 10 minutes putting all the stuff in the dishwasher.
And I bet you felt good.
I felt really good.
Yeah.
And it suddenly clicked. We don't need to have systems and hierarchies. You just got to fucking get on with it. Just quickly, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who still listens to the podcast. I started 4 years ago, and since then I've had over 1 million downloads. I get 5,000 downloads per month, and I've had over 200 different guests. So a massive thank you to everyone who still listens. If you could please do me a favour, if you could rate and review the podcast, that would be amazing, because it helps get the podcast out to new, conscious people like yourself. And my goal is to awaken as many people around the world. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's YesKingOliver, should you wish to see what I get up to on my day-to-day moments. Back to the episode. So we have both been staying at Ansol, right? And what I found incredible about this place is that there's always something to do. And growing up, I didn't have any friends. So I've gone from literally having no friends, no one that likes me, people that I don't like, to being in a place where everyone likes me, I love everybody, and it's like going to uni. Because I never had uni growing up, I'm now experiencing what it would have been like to have that community of friends where if somebody's going out, you can tag along, or people are just hanging out in the halls and then you can hang out with them. And for the first time ever, I'm experiencing what it's like to be a part of a community. Because I've been on my own independent entrepreneur journey where it's just me all the time by myself. Well, I've just learned to be happy with my own company. But now I'm having to stop my all about me ego side and go into a community and understand how to communicate and get along with people where it's not about you. And it's a really amazing, beautiful transition, because I've never had to put others first, and now I'm living with other people. I'm learning to essentially die and be reborn again, where it's now about what's best for the people you're with rather than what's best for you.
How powerful is that, though? It's interesting you said that. It's interesting you said the tone, the term university, because when me and my girlfriend actually arrived here, she described it that way. She was like, it's like being back at uni. So it's interesting you say that, even though you've not been to uni. But I guess the funny thing, I went to uni, I studied business for 3 years while I was there. And university is the complete opposite to this in regard to the fact of the people that are there, but also it's a very, very drinking culture. You know, everyone's like had their first experience of, for a lot of people, escaping, from their old reality of what they used to live in their hometown, and they've gone out into the big wide world. They've got their independence, and for a lot of people like myself at university, I went down a crazy spiral of drinking. My first year of uni, I was just drinking drugs most nights of the week. About five nights of the week I was going out on average. It got to a point where my sleeping pattern was so bad that even if I did a night in, I would still be up till about 5-6 o'clock in the morning because my sleeping pattern was just so fucked. And it was crazy. It was a crazy experience. I'm so blessed and grateful for it because I had so much fun. You know, I did 3 years at university and back to back with doing seasons as an events rep in Mallorca. And I think during lockdown is kind of when I started going down my route of going down more of a spiritual route. And I started to become, I guess, had a lot more of a hippie soul. Whereas when I was younger, I was a party boy. So it's interesting coming here, like even though at Ansol, it is a bit like uni because we're all in the kitchen together cooking and all that type of stuff. But we're all just on this very crazy journey all together where we're all getting, I guess, down more of a route of going down that spiritual path. We're all wanting more in life. We all want to help and do good for people. So it's interesting that you said the word university, but I think what they're doing here at Ansol is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, for those who don't know what Ansol is, it is a conscious living community in London. It's one of the first in the whole country. I think it is the only place in the whole country.
There is another one. There is because I know there is another one here, but it's just so unique. I think so.
Conscious Collective.
That's the one.
Okay. Conscious Collective is slightly different because there is alcohol there.
Okay.
And it isn't just like, they're not doing all these types of things here.
Yeah.
But
I've never been.
And so, imagine a spiritual festival where you'd have like morning yoga, meditation in the afternoon. You're sitting by the campfire at night time singing kirtan. You're in the sauna and the ice bath. You're having community food. Someone's doing the planting of the plants and doing the vegetables. Someone's doing the washing up. And then you do a tantra workshop in the afternoon. And then you go on a walk. This place is like a festival where you wake up and you've got a routine of all these things that you'd only otherwise do at a festival, apart from you live here and there's always something to do. And the community members are the ones that put on all of these workshops. And this is going to be something that is going to grow in the future, and more people will start to do it. And it is one of the first places, apart from that one that's similar, that is doing all of this holistic, spiritual, grounding stuff as part of living. It's not just like a place to live. It's implemented with all of this nourishment and empowerment growth.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
And it's going to be ginormous.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a movement. It's needed. I think especially in the UK, like we've got an epidemic of loneliness. There's an epidemic of depression. You know, there's all sorts going on. Especially, obviously, this is in London. Obviously, they've got the one in Southall where we are now, and then obviously the new one's opening in Shoreditch as well. And you know, London can be one of them places where a lot of people go and end up getting lost there and end up getting very depressed and very lonely because it's a big city, very busy. Everyone's on their hustle and bustle. Whereas this, even though there are people here that are working in London, you know, and say even in the corporate world, they get to come back here and it's like almost like a sanctuary for them, you know?
Yeah, like when I used to go on the train in London, I would actively become aware of myself on this train with other people in their own world, on their phone, not talking to anybody, posture's horrific, eating shitty food, drinking a Red Bull, no one's talking. And I'm like, if we just spoke to each other, imagine how different the train would be.
Yeah.
The energy, even just playing music.
The energy on the tube. You feel flat afterwards.
It's horrific. And just playing music on the tube, playing Barry White or Michael Jackson, it would raise people's energy.
Yeah.
They start to like tap their feet and sing, and before you know it, they're making eye contact and they're boogieing next to each other. And
bit of happiness.
Yeah, shit like that. It's so simple, but it would change the whole energy on the train.
Yeah, I know. Well, this kind of from our, obviously you mentioned the word energy. Energy is something that is very important to me, and I think everything's energy. Like we are energy. You know, we're like over 60% water, all of us as human beings. And if you look at water flows. Water is energy, and I think that's the thing with the UK that I noticed because I've spent a lot of time living in Bali, Turkey, Mallorca, Thailand. I've lived in some amazing places, and the UK energy is just different.
Yeah,
it is just different, and I think if we were to tap more into into the beauty of what there is some amazing things about the UK and there's some amazing people. I just think that a lot of people are on a very low frequency and a low energy. And when people are on a low frequency and a low energy, what happens is then they're not their best selves. And when they're not their best selves, they're not going to show up better for the world. They're not going to be as polite to people in public because they're going through their own shit. But if everyone was on a higher frequency and we all, as a collective, we all worked on ourselves more, like what you mentioned earlier about the fact that here at Ansol, you can do morning meditation together, some morning yoga classes together, loads of different classes. Like these are things that will increase your frequency, increase your energy, and then you're going to start being more grateful. And gratitude is probably one of the highest frequencies you can be on. And my girlfriend we were sat in the sauna last night here, and we were doing a circle of like what's been our biggest high of the week and what's been one of our fawns of the week. And my girlfriend said it was just so refreshing hearing people speak so nicely about people, because I think that's another thing in the UK. There's so many people gossip, so many people talk negatively about people. It's like, just give love, give good energy. And when you give love and you give good energy, you're going to get more love and you're going to get better energy back.
It's so true. At this place specifically, we are so aware of the impact of negative energy, and negative thoughts, and speaking negatively with the negative frequencies of those words.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say I've not heard anybody speak negatively about anyone here, because we understand the profound impact of
you're hurting yourself.
You're hurting yourself. You are becoming that negative vibration if you are speaking it, and nobody wants to self-destruct.
No.
We all want to have high vibration, and we're just all about love here.
Yeah.
There's just so much love and joy, and even if we don't necessarily know the people that well, we still are like they're another human being that is part of this experience, and we love them for just being them. And you don't necessarily have to know people inside out to just be loving to them and getting them to come into your bubble of love. And like a lot of us, we do workshops and we hold hands. In what way would you hold hands with a stranger? We do a thing called conscious connections, where we will just sit next to a stranger, look into their eyes, and just see them as a human being.
And just connect.
And that is actually a very profound thing for me, because often I will cry when I'm looking at somebody, because at that point, it's not about me and my ego and what I want in life. I'm looking at that human being right there, and I'm seeing another human being just like me.
Yeah.
And you start to reflect all the things that you are back, good and bad. And then you realise, wow, I'm just like anybody else. As much as I think I know more than the average person, that is completely demolished in that moment. It's just another human being that is just like you on this planet. It's going to die around the time that you're going to die, has been brought up in the same way you've probably been brought up, and you're just sat there with a vulnerable human like myself.
Yeah.
And it just destroys your ego.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like what you mentioned about not knowing people inside out, we met about 2 days ago? I think 2 evenings ago, we met in the sauna. And I think this would be quite a good thing to dive into right now, actually, because there's something that we really connected on. And I think you know what I'm gonna say. In regard to what we connected on, we had very similar journeys, and it was actually through the book, The Secret. And when you said that, it made me realise that it was the same for me. It's what made me realise. So strongly recommend everyone listening to this to check out Secret. Incredible book, incredible audio book on Spotify as well. It's clearly had a profound impact on your life, but also mine. And we both shared, obviously I know you mentioned you had Tourette's from, was it age 12 up till?
21.
12 till 21. And that for me, I don't know when I started, but I was diagnosed as asthmatic from around about, 4, 5, 6 years old. And it wasn't until during lockdown, so when I was about 22-ish, I'm 27 now, about 22. So from about 5 till 22, I was asthmatic. I was deemed as vulnerable. I always had an inhaler. I was meant to take a brown inhaler every day. I had a blue inhaler on me whenever I needed it. And it was during the lockdown, throughout school, I used to, and we can dive into your story with Tourette's, but throughout school, like when we used to, if you can remember doing like a cross country or stuff like that, it was something I used to really struggle with. And the reason I struggled with it was because I always told people that I was asthmatic. Yeah. So then I almost, it was like a spell, right? Your language is so powerful, and I was putting a spell on myself that because I'm asthmatic, that I wasn't fit, that I wasn't good at running. So then I lived up to that. And then as soon as I had a bit of pain from running or some challenge, I would just give up and stop, and I'd blame the fact that I was asthmatic. And it wasn't until during lockdown I started to learn a lot, because I'm a sales trainer. And I started to really learn a lot about, and that's why I really connected to The Secret, because I've combined my skill of sales and communication and networking with the law of attraction and with The Secret. And I started to realize how powerful language was. And if you say you're tired, you're going to be more tired. If you start saying you're energized and high of life, you're going to instantly increase your energy, right? And it's the same with illness. If you go around telling everybody you're ill, you've got these problems, and like myself with asthma, I was putting that onto myself. And then because I had asthma, then I was having an inhaler, and then I was always vulnerable throughout school. So I then get constantly medicated and all sorts. And I made a decision. And that decision, and this isn't me giving any medical advice, this is just my own story. I made a decision saying, I'm not asthmatic anymore. And I just chucked my inhaler in the bin. And over the last 5 years now, I probably felt like I needed my inhaler around about 3-4 times in 5 years. Which it's blown my mind. And obviously when you said that to me in the sauna, it just connected with me, because you mentioned the fact that you had Tourette. So I don't know if you want to dive into that yourself.
Yep, so I twitched my whole life since I was 5.
Yeah.
And then got the official diagnosis when I was 12, was put on Risperdal medication, which is basically a psychotic medication, very powerful medication that people with schizophrenia go on. And that essentially suppressed my brain so much that my thoughts reduced, which meant the twitching reduced. So the medication on paper is working, because the twitching is a symptom of too much thinking. It's something like a computer motherboard going mad and flashing when you're doing loads of work on the computer. Slow the computer down, the motherboard's not flashing as much. Less electricity in the computer. And so the medication looked like it was working, which it was. I was twitching less, but actually I just had more thoughts in my brain building up over time that I couldn't work out, because the medication would slow my brain down. That when I'm just about to break through with working out, did the chicken or the egg come first? I start twitching, just about to break through.
The symptoms, right?
Yeah, and my dad was to take a tablet, and then it would just send me into a sleepy, dozy mode, and I'd never find out if the chicken or the egg came first. I learnt The Secret. Someone told me about the audiobook.
Yeah.
I was watching it over and over and over again, all through the night, all day. And I decided to come off the medication and meditated non-stop for 3 weeks, which allowed no new thoughts to come into my brain after I'd worked out all of the thoughts I had been trying to work out my whole life. And since then, I've been in complete stillness and awareness of no thoughts, unless I choose to think about something, ever since. Tell me about why you think coming off your inhaler made you not asthmatic.
Yeah.
Because it seems like me, the medication was keeping my body in this fight or flight state of, we need this, otherwise we can't breathe.
My belief is that you create your own reality. So I guess it starts off with your language, right? What you think about and what you speak about, you're going to start creating in your reality. But then you've got the next stage of your actions, right? Because of what I was speaking and because of what I was getting told, that was my reality. But then I guess I was reinforcing it on a daily basis by continually taking my inhaler. And I'd always go into the doctors for checkups about it.
Yeah.
And I would then the
doctors.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're great people.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a lot of the wrong education.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not holistic. It's not holistic at all. And I think that's the reason why, is I was reinforcing the behaviour every day that I was asthmatic. And it wasn't until I made a decision that it's the same with smoking, right? You know, people that smoke so much, they say, I am a smoker. I am a smoker. Like, they're speaking that into existence. And then because they're telling themselves, I am is like the 2 most powerful words in the English dictionary. I am asthmatic. You might have going around telling people, I have Tourette's.
100%.
I have Tourette's. You know, and then you were out with your family, they might have told people, he has Tourette's.
100%.
You know, Oliver has Tourette's. At school, you're probably getting told, you know, let's say you were naughty, you might have blamed it on the Tourette's.
Absolutely.
You know, and this is the thing, and it's the same with like ADHD now, is all the kids are getting diagnosed with ADHD. They're telling everybody they're getting ADHD, and they're blaming it. They're blaming ADHD, but a lot of our problems and illnesses are just from our own language, and also from overstimulation is the biggest part.
Yeah.
You know, if we were to go back to our roots, and I think that's what's so amazing about Ansol, is we are going back to our roots. You know, we used to live in tribes. We used to be in communities. We wasn't all on communities just virtually. we were in communities together in person around nature. Like that's what we used to do. Whereas now, like it's the complete opposite, and we are a lot of people are isolated. A lot of people are alone now. People are struggling to last in relationships. So a lot of people are actually just on their own and they're very independent. And I believe it's really important to be happy on your own. And I think it's really important to be independent. But on the flip side, I think it's also, some people can get so independent that then they actually don't want to be with people anymore.
Yes.
And I believe that we're all destined to be with people. Yeah. You know, it's the human experience. Let's experience the human experience of other humans. And yeah, that's my belief on where it's going wrong. Is I think we're overstimulated. People are too reliant on their phones and social media. The food is just crazy what everybody's eating. People aren't sleeping right. You know, for instance, the blue light at night with the TV screens and stuff is causing people to not sleep. So then people are starting to feel anxious. Then when people are anxious, they're choosing different foods to eat, and then they might be smoking. And all these different coping mechanisms are creating more and more and more pressure on all of our bodies, which is causing a lot of stress for people, a lot of lacking confidence. And then because of that, it causes illnesses. And then people think that then to treat the illnesses, you just need to take medication. But all you're doing, you're not getting to the root. You have to get to the root, you know? Until you get the root, you're not going to get rid of it. You can use coping mechanisms to help the symptoms, but until you get the root, it's going to keep growing back.
Yeah, so my dad always made an effort to tell me, stop labelling yourself. You know, he's very wise like me now. Yeah. And he kept telling me, stop labelling yourself.
It's just a label.
I'll tell people I had Tourette, so it's like my excuse to twitch rather than try and control my twitching by being aware of what I'm thinking when I should be looking at you, listening to what you're saying. So he would say, don't give yourself a label.
Yeah.
And the point you said is that, yeah, you create an echo chamber of people around you that say, oh, he's got Tourette's. So now it's like, well, if I've got Tourette's, then I can twitch.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you take no responsibility if you feel like you can't help it, it's not your fault. Yeah. Why would you say sorry for something if it's not your fault?
No, of course.
So taking personal responsibility means that I'm owning everything that I'm doing, whether I feel I can help it or not, because I ultimately don't want that outcome. Another thing you said was... Yeah, I've lost it. You go.
I guess I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What's been for you? Obviously, you mentioned you haven't really experienced like living in something like this, or like you mentioned you've been on a bit of your own journey. I guess what's been your biggest lesson for moving into Ansol?
That was it. That we've got so much time at home or on the train that we fill that time with being on our phone. Gives our brain too much stimulation, too much dopamine, which are basically ADHD is an active brain, right? And you get stimulants of your own thoughts, for example, right? So everyone's becoming ADHD, and a very important connection is that we're constantly stimulated, which is basically what ADHD is a brain that's overstimulated.
Yeah.
Last night, it was like 11:30, and I went into the kitchen, and it was quite messy. First thing I thought was, fuck's sake, we need a system, right? People need to have a system where you do that and we do this. And then the other part of me thought, no, fucking do it yourself.
Yeah.
That is community. It's whatever needs doing.
Get it done.
Do it. And so I looked around like, for fuck's sake. And then I spent like 10 minutes putting all the stuff in the dishwasher.
And I bet you felt good.
I felt really good.
Yeah.
And it suddenly clicked. We don't need to have systems and hierarchies. You just got to fucking get on with it. And if we lived in community, we would always be doing something, picking up the litter, putting all the plates away, weeding in the garden, planting more stuff in the garden. That's what our time would be spent doing, not on our phone. So it's like, that's what we're missing, the time doing community stuff rather than time on our phones. And I often think, what's the purpose of life? And it is just to find the purpose. And if that is helping somebody put stuff in their car because they're going to their parents' house, then that's what we need to be doing, not being on our phone. What was the question?
Yeah, no, my question was, what was your biggest lesson from moving into Ansol and experiencing this?
That you just have to be selfless to really experience life.
Yeah.
Life is serving. Like when your big tribe is on the beach, he's getting the wood, she's looking after the children, he's in the ocean getting the fish, he's up a tree getting a coconut. She is dancing and then, you know, teaching that other person how to dance. There's just always something to do. And
There is always something to
yeah.
do. Yeah. And I think that's really important, and it's a good topic to talk about in regard to phones. Like, for instance, this is one of my superpowers, and a lot of people that spend time around me, like my friends, my new business partner, my girlfriend, a lot of my clients, I have this mindset that time goes really slow, and pretty much majority of the world have this mindset that time goes really fast. And I think I've realized that the main reason for that is being more present. And the more present you are, like, I'll give you an example. So you don't have to do it now, but imagine this, right? Imagine spending 10 minutes scrolling on TikTok, okay? 10 minutes scrolling on TikTok. Or imagine I told you to get on the floor and do a plank for 10 minutes. How long do you think it will feel if you did a plank for 10 minutes?
I do that all the time.
What, a plank?
No, as in like that experiment.
Oh.
People say time flies past, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh my God, it's Christmas again. Oh
Yeah.
my God, it's Christmas again. I'm like, okay, what's changed? If you were to watch a video for 1 minute, our brain is just simply engaged in the now. And if it's engaged, if the video is so engaging for 60 seconds, then that present moment just goes into the now. But that's actually, in terms of time, 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just trying to meditate or just looking out the window or doing the plank, you're not engaged with anything. Your brain isn't focused on anything. So there's no time. So time slows down.
Yeah.
So it's why is time going so quick? Because we're always fucking doing something.
Doing a lot of things that aren't stimulating, just that aren't being present. You know, like going on TikTok and stuff, you're not fully present, you know? Whereas when you are, like you mentioned, you know, doing the plank or meditating, you have to sit there with your thoughts. You know, you're just focused on one thing. And that's why a lot of people, and myself included, when I first started doing like meditation, it's not a practice I do all the time. I'm more into yoga. My girlfriend's she's a yoga instructor, so we do a lot of yoga, and I find that's kind of a form of meditation for me. But when you actually just sit there with your own thoughts, a lot of people struggle with it, and me included. And, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, so I think about business a lot, and I've really found for me that actually having that time to switch off and just be present and just focus on your breathing is just so good for you to actually just slow down. People are moving so fast and they're not actually having time to think. And then when they have a bit of free time, they're just distracting themselves with stimulants like the TV or our phone. And actually, if you actually spend some more time, like what you mentioned, because we're in a community here, there's always people to go and, you know, there's people to go and talk to, there's people to go and help. And that's what we're here for, ultimately, is to help people, is to serve. And when you help people and serve, it makes you feel better. You know, it makes you feel happier because you're making a positive impact, you know, to that person and to the world. And I think if everyone focused more on that, rather than focusing on distracting themselves from the reality, I think the world would be a lot happier place.
Yeah, when I lived at home before I came here, I would spend like 3, 4, 5 hours a day watching Netflix because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
I must have watched like half an hour of Netflix in the last 2 months I've been here.
Yeah.
Have I missed it? Absolutely not. When I compare how I feel in bed watching Netflix and this dopamine stimulant versus being downstairs, playing ping pong with people, going in the sauna, it doesn't compare.
Doesn't compare.
At all. And I used to have this awareness of, fuck, 3 hours has disappeared. I got my bed at 8 and it's 11:30 and I don't want to go to bed because the Netflix is too engaging. But if I went on a walk or I sat and meditated or just sat by the river, I'd be like, fucking hell, like, it's only been 45 minutes. That's where the time is.
Yeah.
It's in the present moment. Because we're not being present and sitting with ourselves, time is just being robbed, essentially, by corporations, taking our brain and knowing exactly what it's going to need to be distracted and then monopolizing on that where we're locked in.
And here's the thing as well. I think as well, and like for anyone listening to this, is like for instance, I'm very entrepreneurial. Like not everybody like wants to be an entrepreneur, but it's finding your own mission. Like, what is your, like, for instance, for yourself, like, I find it so motivating and inspiring that you've got like 300 and what episode that you got like 350
By the time
podcast
this comes out, it'll
episodes.
be like 70 or something.
Yeah, 370 podcast episodes. Like, how amazing, right? But if you rewind back to when you were younger, like for instance for me, wow, the amount of days that I spent playing Xbox and watching the TV. Imagine I used that time to focus on building my skills, you know, to building amazing relationships, to experiencing life rather than just sitting there being stimulated by something that isn't even real. And I think for me, it was when I started to focus on being like treating my life like a game and treating my life like I'm on a mission and focusing on leveling up. That's when I started to level up, and that's when I was like, for me, I haven't like personally sitting and watching 3 hours of Netflix. I could be doing 3 hours of moving my business forward, of being on a mission. And if I'm not focusing on my business, then I can be focusing on quality time with my girlfriend or my relationships or experiencing this amazing world. And I think having that mission, whether it's starting a business, whether it's like learning a new skill, you know, even if it's you want to learn, like my girlfriend, she really wants to learn the saxophone. Like she's so excited to do that, you know, like learn a new skill, learn a new instrument, you know, have a new hobby, focus on a new business, which is going to give you that extra bit of purpose in your life. So when you have free time, rather than just going for that the auto phone, the auto Netflix, the auto Xbox, instead, you're like, oh, this is free time that I can spend on leveling up.
Yeah, I just had a great idea when you said that. Should I delete my Netflix?
Should you delete your Netflix?
Yeah, because I haven't really used it. So it's like, if I don't have the Netflix, then what am I going to do? Do a puzzle, learn a language, learn how to knit, learn a saxophone. Like I've always wanted to learn the guitar. There's nothing stopping me going on YouTube and learning the guitar.
No.
There's nothing stopping me getting an app, how to speak Spanish.
Duolingo.
And it's like just reprogramming ourselves that there is more than just what our brains are always used to.
Yeah.
Because literally everything's on the phone. We work on the phone, our pleasure's on the phone, we speak to our family on the phone. It's all on the shitting phone. I hate it.
Yeah, I know.
And it's just reminding me that there is so much other stuff to do. Even like spending like half an hour trying to light a fire.
Yeah,
a sense of achievement, and then waiting for it to get hotter.
Yeah.
And then sitting there feeling really warm, and then looking at the flame and feeling like,
grounded.
Oh, this is amazing. And even then, it will feel like time has just slowed down. It's been like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you were watching Netflix,
goes.
Before you know it, it's on the third episode. I'm like, what the fuck is an hour and a half gone?
Yeah. And this is the thing with me. I personally don't have Netflix, but like me and my girlfriend, we've been together for 3 years now. We've watched under 10 films altogether in 3 years.
It's good.
And like for us now, we actually get excited about watching a film now.
Yes, how it should be.
Because we do it so little. Like when I was younger, I'd just sit there and most people are wasting about half an hour a day trying to find something to watch. You go on Netflix and there's an overwhelming amount of choice, and then you're struggling to find something, and because you're watching it so much, it gets to a point it's starting to get worse and worse and worse, and you get to a point where you're spending a lot of time actually just trying to find something to watch. And when you start adding up your time, when you start having that conscious awareness of what you could be doing with your time, especially when you're in, like, for me, because I've always been in the sales world, I've done sales for 8 years, now I'm running my own business. I've never really, other than 8 weeks where I worked at Amazon for 8 weeks during lockdown, other than that, I've only ever been on a commission. So for me, I've always looked at time and money very differently to a lot of people, because obviously, you know, the majority of the world, you're getting paid per hour, right? I get paid £10 per hour. I clock in at 9 o'clock, I clock out at 5 o'clock, I get paid for my 8 hours. Whereas from being in a commission only world, from the age of 19, it made me very hungry, and it made me realize that in an hour, I could go out in an hour and make nothing, but I could go out in an hour and make £1,000, £500, £1,000, £10,000, dependent on the better I got at a skill. So for me, I started to look at my time as money, and I started to realize that, like, for instance, my best commission I ever made, I made £2,950 in an hour, nearly just shy of £3,000. So then if I'm thinking of a 2-hour film, I could technically in that 2 hours make £6,000. So then I start to think differently about my time, and it's not all about money. You know, there's some people have a lot of money and they're not happy. And that's why I also, for me, for instance, with that 2 hours, it doesn't mean that you have to be working all the time, but when you get to the end of your life, are you going to look back on your life and remember all of the times of all the TV series, all the movies, all the Xbox you played? Or are you going to get to the end of your life and you're going to remember your biggest business achievements, your best experiences that you ever had in your life, even just the little things, even like sitting around a fire? Like, these are the type of memories that you're going to remember when you get to your end of human experience, right? So that's why now I'm just very conscious about my time, of what I want to spend it with. And I think if people started to realise, like, one of the biggest objections in sales is I haven't got the time to do this. And I always say to people, and for you listening to this, is go onto your phone and have a look at your screen time. Have a look what your average screen time is on a day. And I can guarantee for most it's going to be on at least over 3 hours. When I was at university, a lot of people I knew from university was on like 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And they're not earning money in that 8, 9, 10 hours a day. Like, you sleep an average of 8, so that gets you to 16. So then if you've done 8 hours on your phone, that's a third of your whole day on your phone.
Third of your whole life.
If you get to 90, 30 years on your phone.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, something came to me. Keep going, you might come back.
Yeah, obviously in terms of time for me, I just think it's a very good thing for people to just have some more awareness on, in terms of our time and what is it that you want to do? Like, what do you want in life? I think this is another issue with social media, is that I know a lot of people are now struggling with depression because of social media. There's some amazing things about it, especially when it comes to the business world, networking with people all over the world, which I think is amazing. But on the flip side, you go onto social media and you see all thousands and thousands of other people living different lives. And you might be in a stage in your life where you're not feeling happy, as an example, and you're doing a job that you hate, and then you go on social media and you see people living an amazing life that you think's amazing. And you then start thinking in your mind that your life's not good because you're not living that life. And I want to just share, a lot of people think they're chasing this life that they want, but is it what they really want, or is it what they think that they want? And I think it's really clear, I think it's really important as us as humans to get super clear and ask yourself, like, what is it that you want? Like, what is it that you want in life? Not what you see on social media, like, what do you want? And I think once you know what you want and you have a North Star of what you want, you've now found your mission. You've now found your purpose of the life that you want to create. And once you know what life you want to create, it's like Google Maps, right? If you're going to go to an airport, as an example, to catch a flight and go on a holiday, you're going to put the airport in your Google Maps, right? And you're going to go straight to the airport. It's a destination. And I think it's the same in our what we want to create in our life. And yes, things change, but it's having something to focus on, something that's going to get you excited, something that's going to get you motivated, something that's going to get you thinking differently. And when you have that, that's when the amazing ideas are going to come. That's when you're going to start networking and connecting with the right people that are going to be able to help you create that reality. But you're not going to have that until you decide on what it is that you actually want in life.
If you had one day left to live, what is the one thing that you would tell the rest of the world?
Oh, what a question. Gratitude. Because this is a practice that I've been doing for about 1.5 years now. And since 19, I've lived a very blessed life of traveling a lot. I've lived in some amazing places. I've probably spent more time abroad than I have in the UK. And when I'd come back to the UK, sometimes I used to go in a bit of a drop, and I used to struggle coming back here because I just loved my life abroad. And I then started to realise that gratitude's the key to life wherever you are. You could be in the best place in the world, but it doesn't mean that you're happy. And I think having gratitude on a day-to-day basis will change your life. Because yes, like what I mentioned earlier, it's really important to, like, I believe, to have something to focus on, like have some dreams, like get excited for the life that you want to create. But on the flip side, that's not guaranteed. You're not guaranteed to be alive. So it's having that gratitude of even being alive right now. And it's focusing on every single day, even if things are tough in your life, if you're going through struggles, if you're going through challenges, like we're all, this is one thing, there's 8 billion people in this world. I can guarantee you every single 8 billion people will go through their life where they're going to have death in their family, where there's going to be illness in their family, where people will go through times of poverty. You know, we all go through different challenges and struggles in life, and whatever challenge you're going through, because even when you see people on social media that are having amazing lives, I can guarantee you that a lot of them will have challenges going on in their life. So the key to the game, I believe, and something that I focus on now, and I guess it's spoken a lot about in The Secret, is living in gratitude. Because if you can live in gratitude, then you're going to make your present reality much better. What about yourself?
The one thing that I would die, whatever version of you that you'd want to be, do it as if it's just you on the planet.
Yeah.
And then get so good at doing that it becomes your default feeling, that you don't know any different than just to be you and feel like that.
Yeah.
That when you enter into the world of people, you are now custom built on you.
Yeah.
So nothing affects you.
Yeah.
So growing up, I couldn't be me because of the judgment I would get, because they didn't actually know me, because I was this version of them that, you know, society wanted me to be, but that wasn't me. So
Yeah.
if I was me, you'd be like, holy shit, who is that person? So you just stay inside you, and then obviously you leave college, and then you eventually come out into the real world, and they're not there anymore, and then you can be you, and you become you for so long that that's your default feeling and vibration, that nothing gets you, and nothing anyone says will knock that energy vibration down, because you are you. It's like you've built yourself so strong that you can say anything.
I love that. And that kind of rewinds back to my point earlier of as well, what I mentioned in regard to knowing what you want. Because when you know what you want, then you just got to then ask yourself the question, what would the person that's living the life that you want, how would they act? What would they do? How would they move? How would they make decisions? What would they eat? What's their lifestyle look like? And then just be it now. And by doing that, what you just mentioned then, of being that person, you're then going to manifest and create the reality that you want.
Anything you want to promote or plug before we finish?
For me personally, I just love to get connected with every single person that is meant to be connected in my world. Is to follow me on my Instagram, Sales with Callum. I've also got a YouTube called Sales with Callum, funnily enough. It's all Sales with Callum. So I'd love to get connected with you on Sales with Callum, and you know, it'd be amazing to hear your feedback and hear your biggest lesson from this conversation that we've had today. And it's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved it. It's been good fun just going down. I speak a lot about sales normally, so it's been quite nice just going down a bit of a different rabbit hole. But you know, I think conversations like this are just so raw, so authentic, and just so needed. So I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. And I love what you said to me around the fire, and I want to kind of wrap it off with that. As you mentioned to me around the fire, is you're not going to stop this until you die. And I love that. I was like, you are going to the top with this podcast, because consistency is the thing that you mentioned you used to struggle with. I've definitely struggled with that in my life. And I think a lot of people have also struggled with that. So if you can be the most consistent person that is consistently showing up, no matter the challenges you get, you know, no matter the financial reward, I don't know if it's still recording, low battery mode. No matter the financial problems that you have, if you can just keep going, keep showing up, keep being consistent, you're going to get better and better and better. Because I can guarantee with yourself, if you were to go back and listen to like your first, second or third, fourth, fifth podcast, the growth that you've probably been on over these last 350 podcasts has probably been incredible, right?
Yeah. Yes. Thanks for listening. If you like this episode, please remember to subscribe, turn the bell notifications on, like the episode, and comment below. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's YesKingOliver. Take a look at the other videos to your side. And if you just want to listen to this podcast, you can do so on Apple and Spotify and most other platforms by going to talkwitholiver.com.